give you a shortened version, a lot shortened version of how this all happened. Oh, that's good. Usually I have a PowerPoint. It takes quite a while to do this, so I'm going to try to do it. I won't take the 45 minutes I usually do. But this started in 1997, May 4th, 1997 is when it started. And there were thousands of people that were mentioned. And I mean thousands of people involved in this. Counting tabs, uh, collecting tabs. When we did put them in the blocks, one at a time, putting them in the blocks. Uh, Literally thousands of people. There are some who are more important than others, and I want to make sure I mention them. But in April of 1997, I thought, how difficult this is to get across the idea of 6 million. That's an enormous number. And sometimes, I try to tell stories, and that always helps. But about individuals, and I would like to have done that today, but I won't. Because that way you get an idea of, you put a face to these tabs. But one of my colleagues, Vicki Baker, came to me in April of '97 and said, I have a daughter that lives outside of Chicago, and she sent me an email. And in the email, she told about a school called Maymont Seymour Junior High School. It's a public school that was collecting pop tabs to honor those Jews perished in the Holocaust. And I thought, I can do that. I can collect those too. So we started on Yom HaShoah in 1997, May 4th, which is the Day of Remembrance for the Holocaust. And we collected in the first month 25,000 pop tabs, which I thought was really good. By 25,000 into 6 million, it would have taken 20 years at that rate. 20 years. 25,000 took 20 years. So you know the enormity of the project. So we knew we had to expand it, and we did. And I won't tell you all the things that I humiliated myself by doing, although Cheryl probably would tell you. And I did a lot. Running along the highway and picking cans. I used to run a lot and picking this. There's a can there. I got to get that tab. Going to football games at Penn Trafford High School. My kids went to Norring because Penn Trafford sold cans at their games, and underneath the stands there was all those cans. So Saturday morning, I was under the stands getting cans because each one of those, each tab that I got, and the reason I like the pop tabs, each one of those had to be taken individually off, one at a time. And then you had to count them. And I'd count them. I was going to do it myself because I don't trust anybody. And I'm, ADD. So I was going to count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And mark it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Mark it. And then you start to see different ones. A red one, an orange one, a green one that's twisted up. And you think, and you pause. You think, that's someone. That's someone. So a lot of times it's tedious, and you would count, and it would just be a tedious job. But sometimes you pause. And I wanted the kids to do that too. And I thought, I'm wasting. Who knows how many actually were killed during the Holocaust? Nobody knows. It's a number. Um, so I let the kids start doing it too, and that it made absolute sense to me. If they made mistakes, I didn't care. I wanted them to go through the process of counting those and looking at those and knowing that tab was a person, represents a person. So that was important to me. So we collected, we counted, and I'm going to skip a lot of it, but 4.5 years later, I had 6 million tabs that we all counted together, and Cheryl's show choir and chorus who helped us enormously. And their kids, Norman kids, talk about this as our sculpture. They believe it's hers because she taught it in Norman, and those kids helped enormously. But 4.5 years later, we had them in my classroom right over there on the third floor, 15 feet long, in 150 fish tanks, 15 feet long, 4 feet deep, and 4 feet tall. I wanted them in something they could see. I wanted them to see those tabs. So they know, just like you can see these, they would know that inside there, in all those tabs, there was somebody's name. It was important to me that they think of it like that. So, 4.5 years we counted and collected. They sat in my room for about 5 years, and I have no vision. So I thought what I would do is eventually, because after a time, that's 9 years, 9.5 years, I thought I'd like to have some of that room back as a take a lot of. So I thought, okay, I'll recycle these. But then Sue Kantowitz, who was head of middle school at the time, decided we should do. You can't just recycle these. We have to do something with it. So she came up with the idea of doing something with it. We had an artist in residence, Ilana Houlihan, and our art teacher, Judy Murray, got together and decided on the kids having a say in how this would look. So they got groups of kids together. They came up with designs, and some of them were brilliant. This was the brilliant this. And but they were amazing designs. So Star David. This is just you probably can't tell from here, but if you get the view from the above, and if I had my PowerPoint, you could see it. It's a Star David, and these is 45 feet across and staggered 9 and 7 feet tall, and you can walk in and walk around. But at the time, we just had a design, and the kids did a mock-up of it. But we would need help beyond that. So, Alan Dunn, who is a architect, who's two of his boys went here, one did not, but two did, and he came up and he offers his time and his company's time. So, but before we could do that, we had to fill those blocks. When I saw those blocks, because we had just gone through 4.5 years of continent, and so I thought, okay, now, because my vision was, we're going to have something like this, we get to pour the tabs in, pour them in. That made absolute sense to me. But no, we got the blocks that you see in the cinder blocks, or rather the blocks you see in basements, and got a little thing in the slit in the top, so you have to go one tab at a time. One at a time. And I hated them for doing that. until I realized that this is a whole new group of kids. A whole new group of kids. The others had kind of been collected. These ones are going to have to put them in one at a time. And it'll be the same thing. You're looking at that and it's somewhat one person. One person. So one at a time they put them in. One at a time. And that took a long time. And then they sat down in that sub-basement over there. 960 blocks, 6,200 tabs in each block, I think something like that. And that's an estimate because you can see some of them settle and then it's different numbers. So they sat down there and what are we going to do with this? So we had a groundbreaking with no money. And this was, this was an old parking lot. So we had our shovels and we did our groundbreaking and got all kinds of publicity. People came from the both newspapers and all 3 TV stations, I think, showed up and thinking that we're getting ready to build something. We weren't. And then came Nancy and Gary Tuckfelt. Without Nancy and Gary, they'd still be sitting down in that sub-basement. And because their daughter, Kara, and you can help me if I'm wrong about this, she was in Europe, yes? And, okay. Oh, okay. And I guess came back inspired by that and said, you have to do something. So they did. But the one who was most, and she's not going to like me saying this, the one who is most responsible for getting this done is Avi. And that's the truth. Well, I don't know. Equally. If Avi wasn't, Avi was determined to get this done. And I always say this, but Avi would come to me and say, we're going to get this done. And I'm going like this, and it's not going to happen. I just didn't know how we could do it. We needed a lot of money. But she persevered, and I never should have doubted her because she did get it done. So, here we are. And I think that was in 2014 when we broke ground? 2012, okay, yeah. And then here we have it. So believe me, that is the shortest version I can give you on this. But that's what we did, and it took a long time, and we had a lot of help. And, oh, by the way, I should say this because I think it's important to know. There are 6 million Jews killed, or some number like that, but there were also 5 to 6 million non-Jews who were murdered also. The students that I had at the time when we finished counting, we had 6 million, insisted that we go to 11 million. I mean, I loved the fact that they wanted to do that, but there's only so many roads you can run on and look for pop dance. So yeah, no. But this to me, when I look at this and I think of somebody like Moshe Baron, I think of this as a much more hopeful thing. It doesn't. I don't think of so much of the horrors of the Holocaust as I do of like he survived and his wife survived. He's a hero to me. And they had children, and then their children had children, and those children will someday, you hope, have children, and so you know it just goes on. So really, I guess Hitler failed. I do want to read one other thing, and then I'm done. Now this I prepared. Edmund Burke said, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." And I'm concerned. You know what happened this past Friday? A large group of heavily armed Nazis and Ku Klux Klanners and other white nationalists held a torchlight parade in Charlotte. A torchlight parade, like they did in Nazi Germany, reminiscent of that, with chants of blood and soil. And Jews will not replace us, were heard at that rally. And the idea was to prevent a removal of the statue of Robert E. Lee. And some of them flashed the Nazi salute. We can't sit silently and let this happen. We have I always consider this my community too. So I'm saying our community and other communities have to stand with our Muslim brothers and sisters, our African American brothers and sisters, our LGBTQ brothers and sisters against hatred. Or else, if we don't respond to this, and that could mean just calling your representative, or showing up at a rally, or writing to the newspaper, something like that. If we don't do that, then we'll become, like Edmund Burke said, good men and women who do nothing. Might as well just tear this down then. Might as well tear it down, if that's what it is. Our community, again, our community, more than any other, knows what hatred can do. And I watched today as Susan Breaux, and you probably saw her too, the mother of Heather Heyer was murdered on Saturday, said that, what is it that I can do to make the world a better place? What is it that I can do to make the world a better place? And I think that's a good message. And she shared the story of her daughter in a dramatic and emotional way. At least I thought she did. So let's make this world a better place. I think this is a helpful thing to that too. Thank you.